welcome to the fifth lecture of the laws of motion. Today's topic is Newton's third law. Newton's third law. We have seen first law, right? First law gives us one qualitative explanation of force. Second law gives quantitative explanation of force. Then there is a third law which is called as a Newton's third law. That is, statement is, for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. What does it mean? It's very simple to understand, right? It's in very simple English. For every action there is equal and opposite reaction. For examples, let us say example number 1. If you hit a wall, right, in reaction you also get hurt, right? The force which you apply on the wall being a hard surface, it also applies the similar force on your hands. Second example, walking. In case of walking also Newton's third law is applied. How? When we walk, right, we push ground backward, right, and in turn ground gives back return force, due to which we walk forward, right? Instead of the rough surface, let's say it's a very slippery surface, then what happens? Oily surface, what happens? On the oily surface, if you try to walk, if you try to push the ground backward, because of the oily surface, because of the smooth surface, ground does not give you equal and opposite reaction, as a result of which you fall down. So exactly when the surfaces are rough, right, you push the ground backward and then the ground pushes you in the forward direction. Then another examples. Example number 3. Most important one. We can walk faster but can't swim faster. Why? So again the reason is simple, right? On the case of the ground surface, it's hard, it gives the normal reaction, it gives the reaction backward, and so we are able to walk. Whereas water being soft, it does not give the equal reaction in the opposite direction. Hence we are not able to swim as fast in the water as we are able to walk on the ground. So that is what here it is, for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Now here the things to notice is, for this law to hold good, there must be two surfaces, right? This law is applicable to two different surfaces. One surface produce action and other reaction. One more important thing, it is not necessary that first action occurs, right? It is not never necessary. Let's say someone is going to hit you. What happens? Even before hitting, your eyes gets closed. So it is never necessary that first action occurs or first reaction occurs. That cannot be judged out whether the action occurs first or the reaction occurs first. Fine. So that is enough for the Newton's third law. Next we have is Newton's law of gravitation. Newton's law of gravitation. There are reasoning based questions, right? Some of the questions and reasons I have explained. These are the observations regarding third law. And then we have a Newton's law of gravitation. What is Newton's law of gravitation? So Newton said, right, force between two masses separated by distance r is directly proportional to the product of the two masses. It is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Newton observed this thing. If I draw a diagram to explain this, it is something like this. Like, let us say this is the mass m1 and this is another mass m2. They both are separated by the distance r. Now both these masses will interact. Interact means they will attract each other. Interaction can be either attractive or repulsive. But here in the case of two masses, the interactive force is attractive. So these two masses, they will attract each other with a force which is directly proportional to the product of the two masses, right, m1, m2, and it is inversely proportional to the distance between them. Greater the distance, lesser will be the attraction, right? Ultimately, combining these factors, we can say that F is equals to G m1 m2 by r square, where G is constant of gravitation. Value of the G is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. That is what the value of the G is. 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11. How will we understand this? It's very simple to be understood, right? Take example of the Earth and the Sun. Earth and Sun. Both the bodies, right? Their mass are very high. Very, very large masses, both of them. So mass is more, that means force will obviously be more. And that is the reason why Earth remains attracted towards the Sun. It continuously revolves around the Sun. Inversely proportional to the distance. Even though the distance is large, right, compared to the distance, masses are really very, very large. As a result of which force is very high enough. But if you take example of, let's say, man and a chair, if you take man and chair, if you take, why they both are not attracted towards each other? Why both the objects don't come towards each other? So reason is mass are very low. Mass is very low, hence the distance will be very low. If you put in this equation, what will be the value of the F in the case of man and the chair? So let us say the value of G is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11. Chair will be, let us say, 2 kg. Human, let us say he is of 100 kg. Right, square of the distance. So distance between me and chair is 1 meter square. So this one, if you substitute 13.34 into 10 to the power minus 9 Newton. See, 10 to the power minus 9. That means here I have to put 1, 3, 3, 4. So this much Newton. Very, very small. Very, very small. Such a small amount of mass, such small amount of force it is. Whereas here, if you put mass of the Earth and mass of the Sun and the distance values, the force is very, very large. Let us put those values and find out, right? So if values are and the distance between the Sun and the Earth is 151 into 10 to the power 3, right? If you simplify this, right, then you can find out the force will be really very, very large as compared to this. And because of such high force, Sun and the Earth remains attracted. Earth also attracts the Sun and Sun also attracts the Earth. They remain in a balanced condition because Earth is simultaneously attracted by other planets also. Sun also, it attracts Earth as well as other planets also. So all the system in this universe, they remain in a balanced condition. So from this Newton's law of gravitation, right, we can also calculate the force of gravity. Let us see how. Right, so this is for the force between the two bodies. So here we assume, let us say this is the earth, right, and there is a person standing over here. The mass of the person is small m and the mass of the earth is capital M. What will be the force between them? We know the formula for the force is ma, right, but force between the two bodies can be also given by this formula, m1, m2, right, by the distance. Distance is radius of earth. Distance is exactly the radius of earth from the center. So radius square. Now here small m gets cancelled. Acceleration, if you calculate gm by r square, if you put all these values of these 6.67 into 10 power minus 11. Mass of the earth we have taken here 6 into 10 power 24 kg. Radius of the earth is 6400 kilometers square. This thing if you simplify, you get 9.8 meters per second square. That is what exactly is acceleration due to gravity. And because of this acceleration due to gravity, the force experienced by the body of mass m is mg. This is the force experienced by the body which is on the earth, m into g. So here in this equation we observe that force is directly proportional to the mass. Force experienced by body due to earth, right? That force is directly proportional to the mass of the body. So more mass, more heavy the body will feel, lesser mass, less force the body will experience. You see dust particles, they have a lesser mass, so force also experienced by the dust particle is less, and so they can fly easily in the air. Let us see variation in acceleration due to gravity. Right, now we know that the earth is not perfectly round, it is slightly bulged in shape. So for that reason the gravity is not same everywhere. There are three important points which you must remember regarding the variation in the gravity. That is, G is least at pole, G is least at equator. Why? Because equatorial radius is large, right? Equatorial, you know that earth is slightly bulged, this type of bulge it is. So on equator the radius is large, so larger the radius, lesser will be the acceleration, right? Hence G is less at the equator, and that is the reason why people on the equatorial region are tall enough, because they are less attracted by the earth. Then another thing, G is maximum at poles. Again, the polar radius is least, so you can write down here, because the reason is polar radius is least. As polar radius is least, right, the G is maximum at the poles, and that is the reason why Eskimos, people on the poles, right, they are very short in height, because at poles G is maximum. G also varies with latitude. How does it vary, increase or decrease? That is again a very detailed discussion, not in the 9th standard syllabus, that we will see in the higher classes. So that is how the acceleration due to gravity varies. So that's enough for the today. That's enough for today.